fourth quarter collides with Damar Hamlin, suffered his third diagnosed concussion of his NFL career. Here's Mike McDaniel and Josh Allen.
He's a great football player, but I've been around him outside of the football field, and an even amazing human, an even more amazing human. So again, prayers are going out to him and his family, and hopefully everything's all right.
You're talking about his career, right? His career is his, and that's something that I think I just really, really, really wish. I totally understand it, and it's not misplaced. I totally get how that's where people want to go to. I just wish that people would for a second hear what I'm saying, that bringing up his future is not in the best interest of him.
Okay, Greg, your reaction?
Absolutely devastating. The Dolphins, as well as Tua, were probably hoping, you got through last year unscathed. And so, okay, maybe we're on the mends. Maybe this is not an issue any longer. And then this happens. And I will tell you from experience, I've been injured several times in my career. Different parts of my bodies, I've had surgeries. One of the scariest injuries is when you get concussed. It's the only time in my life that I have been scared because I didn't recall something, a period of my life. I got concussed, one time I got concussed in Arizona, preseason, and I'm out, and I was only out for a bit, but in my world, I was out for probably an hour, hour and a half. When I came to, it was the third quarter. When I realized what was going on, now mind you, I walked back to the sideline, my trainers come over to me, they're asking me all these questions, who's the president, what year were you born, all these things, and you can answer all these things, but you're not yourself. And so the more that happens, the higher the risk you take. And when you watch this hit, for me as a player, and I have a son, this is the very reason why I have not even allowed my son to start playing tackle football yet. When you actually don't get hit, but you actually run into a player and you jar your head the way Tua did, because we've seen much
That's the scariest part.
much worse hits. This wasn't even a contact or a blow to Tua. It was actually him actually running into a player. And so when you see that, you're like, yeah, this is very problematic. And we know this, but as a player that has had these moments, have had these experiences, it is hard to tell yourself while you're at the prime of your career, I'm good. I'm not gonna keep playing, or I'm gonna walk away. Your mindset, your mentality is just like every player does. I'm gonna shake it off. Like, regardless of what the medical team decides and the information you get, everyone's telling you, the training staff, once you clear protocol, all these things that you gather, all this information, the only thing on your mind as a player is, can I get back out there? Because I feel like I can protect myself. And I thought that as a receiver, let alone a quarterback, who is in more control of himself. But it can happen just like that. And so if I'm Tua, I'm definitely assessing this with a microscopic lens, understanding I'm taking my family into account and all the things. And again, if I were playing, I probably would make the same decision Tua's probably going to make.
Which is
I'm going to keep playing.
Yeah.
But being on this side of it now, understanding the impact that it has not only on myself, but my loved ones, my advisement would be, think about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to support Tua whatever he does. If he comes back and wants to play, I will be the voice of support. My personal preference would be that he step away, and the fact that he did consider it after the 2022 season, talked about it with his family, I mean, that's significant, because the fact that he even thought about it at that younger age, earlier in his career, before he was paid. And now, thankfully, he got that big contract. I think he's going to – I do think he's going to look at it seriously. Just the fact that he looked at it a couple years ago, and now he's got his money. This was, like you said, it wasn't even a huge hit. It was scary. So I'm supportive of him, but I kind of hope he steps away.
I'll be very brief here. This one, to me, resonate. If we were the sequence of events of this is not great, but just to remind the audience, 2022, retroactively people thought he suffered a concussion, but in the moment nobody was shouting that he did the very first one, and then the Dolphins got in trouble. They were like, it was back injury, whole thing. Then 4 days later on Thursday Night Football, he got ragdolled. Yep. You know what I mean? And that was a play. It looked scary and awful, but it also, to me, felt like, oh, a lot of guys would have gotten really hurt there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then he was out for a long time, came back, and then got hit again. This one, to me, is so much scarier, so to speak, because that was a totally normal play. And it doesn't feel to me like you can play professional football and take that type of, be like, okay, I'll make sure I don't get hit like that. He didn't even get hit. He hit DeMar. I mean, it was just DeMar's, and DeMar's not a huge guy. And so that, to me, makes it feel like if he chooses to play, which I do feel should be his right and is his right, it is almost inevitable that we are having a conversation like this again down the road. And if that's what he wants to do, God bless him. Like Bruce said he'd pray for him. Like I feel similarly. But it doesn't seem like his body reacts well to professional football. And it's a tragic situation, but that's how it feels to me.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about the Bills now. They moved to 2-0 with the 31-10 win. Josh Allen did everything game one. Game two was more of the James Cook show, 78 yards and 3 touchdowns. Greg, we showed this graphic earlier in the show. The Bills have become a run-first team. They rush the ball more than anybody, 35 rushing attempts a game, about 150 yards and 17 rushing TDs since Joe Brady became the offensive coordinator. Do you think Buffalo put the league on notice last night?
I'm not sure if they put the league on notice, but they're showing us how they want to play. And they're showing us that this is what we want to lead with. We want to run the ball, and then if we need Josh to be Superman, okay, Josh, you can be Superman now, but that's not how we're going to lead like they have been doing in the past. And so that's scary when you look at this team, because if Josh Allen is not coming out just guns blazing, throwing 10, 12 times in the first quarter already on the first possession, and you're able to run the ball and sustain drives and put the ball in the end zone, and Cook is doing what he did last night, look out. This is a problem, because you always have the card of, Josh, you ready to go? Turn it up. Right. That's scary.
So, listen, I thought the Bills were clearly the best team in the division going into the year. I still feel that way. And I think part of the reason I wasn't as high on the Bills in the years past as others is because I thought some of their talent, other than Josh, was a little overrated. I thought Josh was a bit of a roller coaster. Set that aside. I thought Poyer and Hyde and Diggs the last year and some of these other guys were just very notable names that were good but not great players. So I didn't really mind as much them going younger and cheaper in those spots. It didn't strike me as big of a loss. You know, I thought Gabe Davis had one great playoff game and it was not that big of a loss. So to me, Brew, if you have a healthy Josh Allen and he plays every game, he never misses time, you're going to have a top 10 offense. And if you have Sean McDermott there, you're going to have an above-average regular season defense. Above-average defense, top 10 offense, you win 10 games. You know what I mean? So, like, in Greg's point, I agree with him, Brew, that if they have, almost like a nitrous booster of, oh, this is going to be a big Josh Allen game to go to, that does make them a threatening team.
Well, I think it was good for them that yesterday they didn't need to go to Josh like that. We know he had the wrist injury. He had a great game one, and he the defense, because the game got out of control because of the defense, and Cook doing his thing. I mean, Josh ran twice, through 20 times or whatever it was. Yeah, so that's a good game for him to and I like his demeanor. He really seems like he doesn't care about the stats. Like, it's just let's win. We've been close. Let's try to get closer. I don't know that they're better than they were a year ago. I mean, I think saying they're maybe equal to that is a compliment, because I thought when they traded Diggs and lost some of those guys, you mentioned that they took a step back where, yeah, they'll still make the playoffs. They may still win the division. They're not a Super Bowl threat. Maybe now they are. I'm not ready to say it yet, but I do think, Greg, they can be just as good without Stephon. I mean, now it's been, last year was like the last 5 games in the playoffs. Now we got 2 games here. It's been 7, 8 games without him being a focal point, and they've been fine. And so Josh,